Greetings, it's Ian from RTO here. Hope you're all well on this Friday. Thank you very much for everyone that joined in live stream last night. A lot of fun had by all. So Friday always means it is live album ranking, and today we're going to have a look at the live albums of the great band Chicago. Of course, started their life out as the band Chicago Transit Authority. Now, we was at a pub quiz last Sunday, Lee and I, and we were saying to these people in the quiz that, you know, they changed the name because Chicago Transit Authority was a mouthful. We all know them. They're influenced by jazz and rock and blues. Had the great Terry Kath in the band. Peter Cetera carried it on. James Pankow and Walter Parazada. Really big part of this band. They've had lots of people, but their live albums are all good. Even the ones at the period that I'm not keen on, they've always been a really solid live band. I've got one or two of their live albums, and I've also got obviously the ones that are on Spotify, and they are a really good listen. They've had, you know, I think at the moment we've got there's a couple of the originals, but unfortunately Walter retired, and he's suffering with Alzheimer's disease, which is a terrible disease. I mean, my nan had it. You know, when you have great musicians like this and they'll forget what they did, it's such sad. So we hope he's well under the circumstances. So, as I said, there are 8 live albums, and so we'll start. So coming in number 8, this one came out in 2018, and this is the first time on vinyl, and it's live at the Isle of Wight Festival, which was done in the 70s. I'm not going to go too much because it is actually on another album. So you've got an introduction, you've got South California Purple's Beginnings in the Country, Do You Really Know What the Time Is, Mother, It Better Soon, It'll Better End Soon, 26 or 6 to 4, Ballet for a Girl in Buchanan, and I'm a Man. Yeah, the only reason this is at the bottom of the list is because it was released as a single album and it appears somewhere else. It's good. I haven't listened to it because I know what's on it, but I should just. And I've heard that it's really good, and I've read what people have said about it, and it's really good on vinyl. So I'm going to give this just a 6 out of 10 because it's Chicago. Okay, then coming in at number 7. Again from 2018, this is Chicago's Greatest Hits Live. Performing on here, we've got Robert Lamb on keyboards, Lee Loughnane or Loughnane, James Pankow, Keith Howland on guitars, Lou Pardini on keyboards, Wilfredo Reyes Jr. on the drums, Ray Herman saxophones, Neil Donnell on acoustic and vocals, Brett Simons on bass. There's some the touring, and Ray Yallis on percussion. Touring musicians were Nick Lane and Larry Kimmas on saxophone. So no really originals apart from James Pankow, really, and Lee Loughnane or Loughnane. So we open up with Beginnings, which of course is from. I'm not going to give it its full thing. I'm going to just call it CTA. Great song, not a bad version to be quite honest. Then we have Questions 67 and 68 from the same album, pretty good. And then from Chicago 10 we have the great If You Leave Me Now. And from Chicago we have Dialogue and Call on Me from Call on Me from Chicago as well. Then we go back to the CTA album for a bit of Does Anybody Really Want to Know What Time It Is. Hard Habit to Break from Chicago 17, You're the Inspiration from 17, back to CTA for I'm a Man, Street Player from Chicago 13. They're all the big hits. Chicago 6, Just You and Me is not too bad. Hard to Say I'm Sorry from 16 is alright. Saturday in the Dark from 5, and Feeling Strong for Chicago. Okay, it's not like the original lineup, but it's a really good band they've got. It sounds good. The horns all sound great on this. I don't mind this album actually. Okay, the singer's not the same, but hey, things move on. But it's pretty pleasant to listen to. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 6, we have Chicago 26. And this was released in 1999. And it's their first sort of since Chicago, that's 1971 and 72. These concerts are from the 90s, and this was put out in 1999. So the band for this one is Bill Champlin on the keyboards, Keith Howland on the guitars, Trish Embowden on drums, Robert Lamb on the keyboards, Lee Lane. I'm just going to call him Lee because I got into trouble last time. James Pankow, Walter Parazada, Jason Sheff on bass. So the first track, we go to the Chicago album for a little bit of The Ballet for the Girl in Buchanan, which is a fantastic track. It doesn't matter who plays it, it's just one of the great tracks from Chicago. Then we go to number 7 for Make Me Smile. It's not too bad. We stay on number 7. These are all Chicago. I'm not going to keep going Chicago 6, 7. I'll just do the numbers. I've been searching so long. Great track written by James. Staying with the same hand. It's monologalist, something like that. Really good. I've Had It to Break from number 17. It's pretty good on here. Call on Me from 7 again. And then we go to 6 for Feeling Stronger Every Day. Really good song written by Peter Cetera and James Pankow. Really good track. Just You and Me from Chicago, number 6. Then we go to CTA for a little bit of Beginnings from Mr. Robert Lamb. Very good track. And then we have Hard to Say I'm Sorry and Get Away from Chicago 16. I actually brought that on single. Then we have from Chicago the great 25 or 6 to 4. Great track that is. And the last track, well, it's not the last track, Back to You. This is a new studio track, and it's not my favourite period of Chicago, to be quite honest. It's a little bit wishy-washy, and this is. Then they do a Bertus track written by Burt Bacharach, probably the dreariest version of this song I've ever heard. It's If I Should Ever Lose You. Yeah. And then there's the last studio track is Your Love Keeps Lifting Me Higher and Higher. Best of the studio tracks on here. It's a bit bluesy jazz. I don't mind this. Okay, not a bad live album. The later tracks do sound a lot better live. In the studio they all got this smoothie sort of sound, but live you can't take what you have it what it is. Raw sound. And the horns all sound fantastic. I like the horns on this. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, then coming in at number 5 is a live album recorded in 2018, and it's called Chicago 2 Live on Soundstage. It's recorded in Chicago. So we've got bass and vocals Jeff Coffey, drums Trish Embowden, guitars Keith Howland, keyboards and lead vocals and guitar Mr. Robert Lamb, lead vocals and keyboards Lou Pardini, percussion is Wilfredo de Reza Jr., on the trombone the one and only Mr. James Pankow, on the trumpet Lee Lufhane or Laufhane. Woodwind and saxophones by Ray Herriman. So basically we get Chicago 2. Moving in the road, poem for the people in the country. Wake Up the Sunshine, the beautiful, a ballet for a girl in Buchanan. Fancy Colours, Memories of Love, It Better Soon End. Where do we go from here? And rounding it off, of course, is 25-6-4. Really good this is. Nice to hear the whole album live, even though it's not got Terry on it and all the other gang. But it's an enjoyable interpretation of this. I really enjoy this. I've played it quite a lot. I haven't got it, but it's on Spotify. And it's one of them albums that I like to put on. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 7.6. Okay then, coming in at number 4. We have Chicago 34, live in 75. And it was recorded in 1975, but not released until 2011. And this was recorded at the Capitol Center, Largo in Maryland between the 24th and 26th, 1975. So we've got a great band here, the classic. We've got Robert Lamb on vocals and keyboards, Mr. Terry Kath on vocals and guitar, Peter Cetera on vocals and bass, Danny Safarain on drums, Laudia de Elevria on congas and percussion, Lee Lauf or Luff. I'm going to call him Lauf. Iain. If it's wrong, it's wrong, but that's what it looks like. On the trumpet, James Pankow on the trombone, and the woodwinds done by the one and only Mr. Walter Parazada. So the first track on here, we go to CTA for the introduction. Some great guitar work here from Terry, and then we get Any Way You Want from Chicago 8. Yeah, good track. Back to CTA for a bit of beginnings. Brilliant version of that. We stay with CTA for Does Anybody Really Want to Know What Time It Is? Then a great version of the ballet for a girl in Buchanan. Absolutely killer version. We stay with the Chicago and Now More Than Ever. Then we pop along to number 8 for a bit of Ain't It Blue. Great track. Then we have number 4, Just You and Me. Number 7 for I've Been Searching So Long. Great track. Then we got the Mononucleus from number 7. From number 8 we go to Old Days Chicago, bit of 25-6-4. New. That was the first album. Disc 2. A really good version of Got to Get You Into My Life from Revolver, of course. I like their version of it. It is really good. Then we have Free from Chicago 3, which is a pretty good track, one of my favourites. Then we have a cover they did off the CTA album from Spencer Davis Group, I'm a Man. They do a really good version of that. Then we get Dialogue from number 5. You know, these tracks are great, these older tracks. Really good. Wishing You Were Here from number 7. Good track. Wish You Were Here. Feeling Stronger Every Day from number 6. Very strong track. This is a great album from my favourite lineup of Chicago. Got some great songs on here. It just sounds great. That guitar work from Terry. The horn section is just fantastic. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, coming in number 3. This is live in Japan, and it was released in November 1972 and was recorded at the Osaka Festival Hall in the support of the Chicago 5 album in 1972. So it's Peter, Terry, Robert, Lee, James, Walter and Danny. A great lineup. Opens up from Chicago 5. Why not? Because that's the album they were promoting. And it's Dialogue, parts 1 and 2. Brilliant. And then we have Hit by Varese. Another great track. Then Low Down, the Japanese, sang in Japanese from number 3. Back to the 5 for State of the Union and Saturday in the Park. Fantastic tracks. Even sound better live. I do love them live. The Wonderful Ballet for a Girl in Buchanan, of course. Then we, of course, go back to CTA for a bit of Chicago Transit Authorities Beginnings. Then a great track that Terry Caff wrote from on 5, Mississippi Delta Blues. Very good track. Back to the Chicago album for a song for Richard and his friends. Then back to CTA for the great Does Anybody Really Know What Time It Is? We stay on that album for questions 67 and 68, and it's done in Japanese. So there we go. Then we go to a bit of 25 or 6 to 4. I'm a Man, always good version. This is a long version, it's a 10-minute, and it's a bit of a free jam from Terry. Talking of free, that ends the concert from Chicago 3. Another solid album. Some great guitar work as ever from Terry. Sounds is done the same period as another album we're going to talk about in a minute, but this is the sound is a little bit goes off, and that's why it's not at number 2. But it's a great set. Okay, my number 2 is Chicago at Carnegie Hall. First live album they put out, and it was released in 1971 and recorded between the 5th and 10th of April in 1971. So that great lineup of Terry, Peter, Robert, Lee, Walter and James and Danny. First track on it, From Chicago, In the Country and Fancy Colours. What a way to start the concert. 2 great tracks. A 10-minute version of In the Country. Really good. Then we go to CTA for Does Anybody Know What Time It Is? Both parts. Stay with CTA for Southern Californian Purples, one of my favourite tracks off that album. A 15-minute version of it, pretty good. Question 67 and 68 from CTA. Then we have from number 3, Sing a Mean Tune Kid. These are really long versions, and that's just fantastic. Beginnings, classic. And then we get It'll Better Soon End from Chicago. All movements, including a wonderful flute solo. Then we have Introduction from CTA. Mother from Chicago 3. Low Down from Chicago 3. Then we have Flight 602 from Chicago 3. Motorboat to Mars, which is great. It's a short track, but it's fantastic. Bit of Free, Where Do We Go From Here from Chicago. I Don't Want Your Money from Chicago 3. This is a huge album. It's side 7. This is Happy to 'Cause I'm Going Home. And then Ballet in Buchanan. Song for Richard and I'm a Man. One great album. You have to put this on from start to finish. Because you just don't want to turn it off. It's a great live album, so I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8.4. But surprisingly, my number 1 is one that came out in 2018, and it's called Chicago 6 Decades Live. This is What We Do. This again is another sort of box set extravaganza. Excuse me. So on here we have got, of course, Peter, Danny, Terry, Robert, James and Lee and Walter. So the first set is that Isle of Wight festival. which was in 1970. 28th of August to be precise. So this one opens up with Introduction from CTA. South, all these are first three, four are from CTA, so we get Introduction, South Californian Purple's Beginnings and In the Country. And does anybody really want to know as well? And then from Chicago 3 we have a bit of Mother. Then two great tracks from the Chicago album, It Better End Soon and The Ballet for the Girl in Buchanan, the best version I think of that. Then we have a bit of 25 or 6 to 4, just can't go wrong, I'm a Man. Then we swap venues and we go back even further. Now this is from the Olympic Hall, Paris in France, recorded on the 8th of the 12th of August 1969. So we got The Poem for the People from Chicago, 25 6 to 4 off Chicago, Liberation from the CTA album, and then we jump to 1971 for the JF Kennedy for the Performing Arts, done on the September the 16th, 1971. Bit of Goodbye from number 5. Then from 72 we go to some tracks from Sydney. One track from Sydney, Now That You've Gone from number 5. 70, recorded in 1973 at the Chicago Stadium, hit by Baris. Then 77 we've got If You Leave Me Now from Chicago 5. Also Taking It Upon the Town from number 6. Then we go to the Greek Theatre in Los Angeles in 78 for a bit of Hot Streets from the album Hot Streets. An album that I'm not particularly fond of, but I do like this track live. Little One from Chicago 11. Really good version of it. And then we get from 1987, we got Forever from number 18, a track that I'm not very keen on the album, but again it sounds so good live. Then we have this little medley which is In the Midnight Hour, Knock on Wood, I'm a Man and Get Away. That's pretty good as well. You're Not Alone from number 19 is really good, and that was recorded in 92. Then from 1994 we've got The Paul from Chicago 32, Stone of Cyphers. Again, it's really good live. Then they do a version of Glenn Miller's In the Mood, which is from that album. They did the big band stuff, which is pretty cool. Don't Get Around Too Much, another from the Night and Day. Duke Ellington number, pretty cool. And then there's an A&E Network live request that they did in 2002. They do an acoustic version of Look Away, which is fantastic. It's from Chicago 19. And we go to 2014. Where they do America, which is from Chicago 34, and it's a really good version. I really like this box set because it covers the whole of the career. They've been pretty consistent as a live band, and what I do like about it, these later tracks that I've always sort of poo-pooed, when they're live they're so much better. I really like this. It's one of the best buys I've had for a long time. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.5. So there we go. We've covered some live Chicago. If you're like me and you're not keen on those later albums after the classic lineup, go and listen to their live stuff. It really brings it to life, these old tracks. And it's great that they still do these old tracks. What's up next week? Well, we've got a brand new album review to do, and it's from the brilliant King Gizzard and the Wizard Lizard, and the album's called The Silver Chord. Now, what sort of album is it? Is it a rock? Is it psychedelic? Is it dance? Is it electronic? We just don't know. Every time they put an album up, we just don't know what we're going to get. So I shall be reviewing that one. So I'll see you for that later. Bye for now.